Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. In terms of Trump's forget first 100 days, first day, the things that need to be front and center. As we were talking about with Jim Urio early in the program, I mean, some things like unleashing American energy production, that is, there's some lead time, understandably so. Some things extending the Trump tax cuts will take some time in Congress, although I wouldn't expect too long. But day one, you've got to deal with these stories that come out on a daily basis that speak to cities, states that are beset by people who are in this country illegally.
Yep.
Listen to this report out of Tennessee, not a border state, but of course, as we know, every state is now thanks to the Biden administration.
The TBI says not only is a dangerous gang growing nationwide, but it's impacting every major city across Tennessee.
They have a pathway to more violence.
The TBI director, David Roush, warning Governor Bill Lee in a budget hearing Tuesday about the rising threat of a violent criminal group, Tren de Aragua.
They're back in all of our major cities. They are running human trafficking operations.
Roush says the Venezuelan gang does not hesitate to attack their opponents in public.
Recently, there was a video that they shot where they shot an individual, a cartel member, 31 times, broad daylight, on video and posted it to social media.
Roush says they'll next engage in more retail theft before taking on the drug trade.
For more on this, the second-term agenda, including this topic, pleased to be joined by Phil Kerpen, President of the American Commitment and Chairman of the Internet Freedom Coalition. Phil, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure, and congratulations on that 50-0 rejection of the mayor's property tax hike. I've never seen anything quite like a 50-0, so you guys are doing something right out there. Maybe the tide's turning low.
Well, it's something. Dan doesn't think so, but
Don't be too celebratory. I mean, that's...
The backup plan is going to be almost as bad.
There is no plan.
There is no backup plan, but it'll be smoke and mirrors and Scotch tape and rubber bands. This is not getting better anytime soon. It's just that everybody is out there trying to protect their own hides, and the way to do that at present is to separate from.
Well, I think the national outlook is getting better, so we've got
true.
that. I mean, the national outlook I think is definitely getting better, and the errors of the Biden administration were so severe and so obvious that correcting them should be relatively straightforward. And I think that, it starts with reimposing all of the successful first-term Trump border policies, remain in Mexico, getting rid of catch and release, that kind of thing. Stopping the airlifts of hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants directly into the interior of the United States. A lot of the things that Biden is doing are so crazy that just stopping them will make a huge difference in reversing that particular problem. And I think the other thing that happens is, there's a total shift in perception globally. And so, if you're in all of these various, these Central American countries that have sent 5, 6, 7% of their entire country's population into the U.S. over the last 4 years, they see the headlines there already. They're going to stop coming. I mean, they if there's no longer a welcome mat, and you no longer know you can walk right up to a Border Patrol agent who's going to, you say the magic asylum words, they give you a notice to appear in court in 5 or 10 years, and then they release you into the country. Well, if you know that's the procedure, come on in. If you know it's going to be a very different procedure where you're going to be detained and immediately returned back across the border, well, you may not come in the first place. So I think we're going to see a very rapid change on the immigration stuff. You mentioned tax is going to have to be a big fight in Congress, but I think they're going to move fast on that too. I think we're going to see a reconciliation instruction and a tax tax reform extension bill pretty early. And the first few months of next year, I think they want to clear that off the table. And then, of course, the other huge sort of ingredient in getting the economy moving again is regulation, and Biden was horrendous on regulations. But the thing about regulations is they're imposed by agencies as an administrative matter. They can generally be reversed. Now, there are hoops you have to go through, and public comments and timelines and things like that. But I think they're going to be very aggressive on that front as well. So I'm pretty optimistic on the national outlook right now.
Well, what about the mass deportations? I mean, if you compared to Trump's first term, 1 million were deported, but Obama, he deported 3.2 million. Do you think that they're going to focus, though, every time someone is deported, that all the news cameras, the left-wing media is going to see what he's doing? He's tearing families apart.
Yeah, we're going to have an Elian Gonzalez moment every night on TV, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get. I think you'll get some of that, but the challenge that the media has gotten trying to do that is deportation has become a pretty popular policy at this point, and so as much as they might try to show it as this horrible, inhumane thing, I think that it's going to be challenging for them to reverse public opinion. I think that a lot of people will be celebrating even if they try to show it in the most twisted way, because remember that the media has zero credibility with at least half, probably more than half of the American people. If they had credibility, people wouldn't have voted for the guy they said was Hitler. So I think they're done. I think they don't have the power to change perceptions among most people anymore.
These are team exercises, and so you have Homan and Noem and Miller, the team that's focused on mass deportations. You have, we just talked to Mike Benz yesterday, and he's releasing next week, I guess, a list of all of the federal government agencies that have censorship programs. And so there again, you're going to have the Trump team. I mean, that's sort of across the platform, but specifically the intel community, DNI, DHS, the team again. So now fold in Tulsi Gabbard and Ratcliffe and others. Any of the team that has been assembled so far that is of concern to you with respect to the varied missions here?
I think most of the names are pretty good. I think that Matt Gaetz is going to have a lot of trouble getting confirmed. That might be sort of the lightning rod one to maybe smooth the way for some of the other ones. But, he certainly went all in, resigning from Congress, which is a pretty bold move. So we'll see what happens with that one. That's probably the one that pushes the envelope the most and is a little bit of a stretch even on the qualifications. I mean, I think the guy had a private law practice for maybe 2 years between law school and when he went in the Florida legislature. So he's really been a career politician. Maybe that's what you want to kind of get the place under control, but traditionally it's been someone with a pretty good law background. So that one is probably a bit of a stretch. The RFK one, I kind of love but also hate in a certain way. I think that he's, you know what I mean? He's got all the right enemies. He definitely got COVID right more than all of our so-called experts who told us, the school closures and the lockdowns and the vaccine mandates and all of that. But he's also a little bit of a nutty leftist historically, and he wants to sue everybody and ban all kinds of things. And so I don't, I enjoy that it's making the right people angry and frustrated and that kind of thing, but we'll have to see if he sticks to the stuff he's right on, or if he branches out into some of his nuttier stuff. It could potentially be an issue. But I think generally Trump is kind of delivering on what he campaigned on with these nominees that he's put up, and he's kind of he's going with the team that is consistent with the things he wants to do and that the American people voted for, and that's ruffling a lot of feathers, but people voted for feathers to be ruffled, right?
Yeah, well, right, and I know you're a policy guy, but you also understand the politics inside the Beltway, and so concern about the I don't want I guess it's the best way to describe it, because they have been pretty antagonistic to Trump, sort of the anti-Trump caucus within the Senate Republican caucus, the slim majority in the House, and a lot of the nervous Nellies in that caucus as well that
I don't love him nominating three House members. I don't love him nominating three House members when there's barely a majority.
Yeah, but those are pretty safe seats.
Brutal.
Right? Pretty safe seats. But I mean,
they're safe seats, but the vacancies until you get the specials make it very hard to manage the floor when you already had a tiny majority.
Right. Yes. Good
I'm
point.
more worried about the vacancies than the specials. The vacancies are going to be very challenging. Although,
Yeah.
as I said, Gates already has resigned, so they could maybe do that special in January. We'll see. I don't know how fast they can move under Florida law.
But I mean, is there you mentioned the Gates nomination, which of course we've been talking about, but are there any items on Trump's policy agenda, sort of big picture, that you think are going to have problems with Republicans breaking ranks?
Well, I mean, I think some of his tax proposals, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security benefits. It's going to be interesting how all of those fit in, and of course, he wants those big tariff increases, which I think most Republicans in the Senate will be against. And so, it's going to be interesting to see when they try to do the extension of the expiring Trump tax cuts, how much of the new tax promises they mix in and how much they just kind of ignore and say, well, maybe we'll get to that later. I do think it complicates extending the existing Trump tax cuts a lot if you try to do all those other things at the same time with the scoring. And the tariffs are a very tough sell to most conservatives because most conservatives are free trade people. And, I think it's one thing for Trump to say, I'm going to put tariffs on a particular country or on a particular sector and use it as leverage for negotiations, which he did very, very effectively in his first term. And it's another thing entirely to say we're going to have across-the-board tariffs, which I think understandably, including me, many conservatives are very skittish about because they're not very economically efficient. They get very destructive in terms of the impact on trade and the retaliation and everything else. So probably tariffs will be the major friction point, I would think, with the Republicans.
Phil Kerpen, president of the American Commitment and chairman of the Internet Freedom Coalition. Phil, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot.